take a life of crime, all to make you mine, all to catch a thief. Your love is my relief, my love is your relief. Your love is my relief, my love is your relief. All to catch a thief.
Attention, all you niggas, all you bitches. Time to put down the crystal, time to take off the ice for a minute. Time to throw a little mud in this motherfucker. Turn me up some. Yo. Yo, give me some room, I'm throwing elbows. Timberland boots, Air Force, and shell toes. Who the fuck is them? If I gotta pay to get in the club, I'ma go pop the trunk and turn the street volume up to 10. I ain't on the guest list, I ain't VIP. I snuck in the exit, learning DIP. My dress code is all black when I'm making the moves. Similar to the new PlayStation 2. I can't help it if the club only packing the G. And the fire marshal wanna shut it down at 3. And you ballin' ass niggas is dressed to kill. For the whole showing the toes with extra heels. I gotta get in, I drove here with a car load of bitches charged on Belvedere. My niggas hit the cells so the line is thick. So I try to 500 through the door. Yo, Red, what's up, man? Hey, they ain't trying to let you get in the club. Yo, DJ Cool to the rescue. We gon' break this joint down, man. Hey, yo, I can't get in the club. You pumping this one in your truck. Let's get dirty. Say, let's get dirty.
or so as he turned to the river and stooped and looked back at the large woman at the door. He barely managed to say, "I love you," before she shut the door. And he never saw her again.
It's great entertainment, thrilling entertainment. It's the inside story, packed with drama, of the struggle to solve the problems of supersonic...
Part, man. Oh, this guy took and knocked him down and started kicking him. He said, "Wait a minute, man." He said, "Goddamn, you offered me a drink with you and your wife, now you're gonna knock me down and kick me. What's the big idea?" He said, "What do you mean, farting before my wife?" He said, "Hell, I didn't know it was her turn."
It's important to practice good hygiene. At least if you wanna run with my team. I'm about to get into some shit that I've seen. It's fool's breath from it, so that'll melt your ice cream. They say don't say nothing if you can say nice things. Sitting too close to him on board like my ice sting. I tried to be subtle, hand him a stick of gum. I was a victim, a breath on hum. Running his yap about what set he from. Gotta get some gum, gotta get him some. He turned it down, his teeth was brown. Excruciating foreign, it was a new sensation. I had to ask the dope to pass the soap, cause his coat had the stench of crustaceans, or bathrooms in the bus station. He had a can of OE and some raisins. Amazing, head to Tobio, he didn't know. Used to the fragrance, just as the days went without bathing. He felt manly and not like a maiden. He had one dread and fungus. Said he worked on people's toilets with plungers. Girls not the guy you would want to tongue ya. So guys, take a cue from this little number. You gotta wash your ass. If you must, you gotta wash your hair. If you must, you gotta brush your teeth. If you must, or else you'll be funky. You gotta wash your ass. If you must, you gotta wash your hair. If you must, you gotta brush your teeth. If you must, or else you'll be funky.
You can never go down, can never go down, can never go down the drain. You can never go down, can never go down, can never go down the drain. You can never go down, can never go down, can never go down the drain. You can never go down, can never go down, can never go down the drain.
Now in class you need total concentration, but there's kids in the back holding conversations, cracking on each other, and neither were poster boys. Both of them smell like the type that soap avoid. Coast and joy to leave an absence. Once fool's feet smelled like you struck some matchsticks. Brimstone, girls would never bring him home. I was laughing, then his friend raised his tone and said,
"What, you rolled all over yourself?"
"Yeah. I go so deep on your ass, you'll be submerged like you need to do in water, cause you smell like a turd. Want a cap? Get some courage. Your feet smell lurid. Go look it up, and while you at it, get a cup and squeeze the sweat out your sweatshirt and drink it or gargle. You get our vote for most stinkiest. That nigga started thinking the shit. Said I was frail. I said he was stale. Underarms is right. Undergarments hype. About to leap out your holy sweats, and we holding bets. And after this, I'm gonna collect. Nigga, check yourself. Respect yourself. And watch your motherfucking body for your sweatshirt melt like radioactive. No lady find you attractive. The funk got you captive. You don't need a map, bitch. You gotta wash your hair. If you must, you gotta wash your hair. If you must, you gotta wash your teeth. If you must, or else you'll be funky. You gotta wash your hair. If you must, you gotta wash your hair. If you must, you gotta brush your teeth. If you must, or else you'll be funky.
You can never go down, can never go down, can never go down the drain. You can never go down, can never go down, can never go down the drain. You can never go down, can never go down, can never go down the drain. You can never go down, can never go down, can never go down the drain.
Deltron, tremendous force that ends your course. Every whim is enforced. I send men with torches to rend your fortress, and in the process radiate your optics. Subconsciously haunt some seas. Superhuman technician, atomic interdimension. Too mental with intuition. Typographical aptitude, let my lasers clap at you. Map the roots, psychologically crapping out. What you laughing about? Imitations, getting penetrated in 3D simulation. In my MC training class, remain in mass. Never get liquidated, convert energy into matter instantly with a pen and pad. Calculate the centigrade, heat the center of gravity. Abolish apathy, graphically packing 380s. With body heat sensitive bullets, you need safety. Vest on your face and neck, mental armory. Levitate lakes for my monarchy. No malarkey, my flow's embarking. Psionically sparking, brain cells till they sparkling.
No one knows the time. Pass me by. No one knows the time. Pass me by.
I remake my universe every time I use a verse to fulfill my destiny. MCs rest in peace. Side barriers provide care within from impurities. Every word will seize your attention like third degree. I subjugate you other fake performance while the bass hug your face. No sentient being attempts fleeing. MC siphon my likeness, bites in my insights like 5 enchiladas. This plane of existence is amazingly different from my orbital oratory. Always going for the glory. You pop wide open for my slide slogans. I stay in effect with alien tech. Make you wanna say he's the best. With synchronization, with commentation, it's armor plated, hard to fake it. Never carbonated, scar your matrix, virtually a certainty. Murk your mediocre sheets of sulfur with my stellar energy. They'll assimilate a realm where anything is possible. NASA scientists can't define this mechanical mindset. Diamond alignment.
No one knows the time. Pass me by. No one knows the time. Pass me by.
Mathematical astro, grapple flow, pterodactyl, very factual crash course, last resort. Cast me off, at last we warp to my own world, my own neurological cubby hole. Open the air shaft, I'll be there fast with spare raps to tear back their mask. Deltron, experimental, critical, literal, professor, test the pitiful. Micronautilus interchangeable. All of this gamma, grammar, far from Bama. Got my control bandanas to control your clan with scanners. Ran the planet like a band of bandits who man the cannons and guns with random. Subatomic, love of logic, bug with phonics. Tub of chronic, glowing brighter with controlling ciphers. Unraveling rhyme and traveling time. Alien life form, mailing a pipe bomb. Deltoid, lifelong, I write songs. Monarch absolute, serve a glass of proof. When I vanish, leave my spirit in a planet. On top of the surface, my words and wit emerging.
No one knows the time. Pass me by. No one knows the time. Pass me by.
You try to get over, you're gonna go under. What that fool say? I I said you try to get over, you gonna go under. Literally, it's 30-30, man. I ain't got time to be wasting time on slow posts. I want y'all to get open like the ocean. Brothers be bugging like he from Oakland. What? I'll whoop you. Insinuating we ain't capable. Stupid ass niggas is gonna wait for hoe. A few out of thousands. My town is founded fathers of the Black Panthers. We provide answers. You don't wanna believe in y'all some blind bastards. They got you set up real good generalizing. Industry's rising while energy's declining.
Eugenics. You want us to do eugenics?
Let's say, well, here's hypothetical. Let's say,
it is not.
Okay,
I am not arguing. Yeah, we are going to do this, and that is eugenics, Destiny. And I don't appreciate you. You're not going to treat me like I'm a f***ing idiot. I have been doing this for a long time. Like this is what I do.
You're 19. Right? I don't think you've been doing anything for a.
Good morning, cheddars. Maybe I should just do like a little intro. This is going to be. I think this is about abortion. It'll be interesting to watch because I was meant to have a debate with someone about a similar topic. Plus, you know, just want to kill time and watch Man do some classic debates from a year ago before the research arc started. Enjoy.
For a long time. But I'm not talking about protecting a fetus, I'm talking about protecting a conscious experience. I mean, all conscious experience is subjective, right? We are subjects and we have a subjective conscious experience. It's like we can't like objectively measure. You disagree with that? I'm sorry, can you tell me about the objective conscious experience?
When I'm talking about consciousness, I'm talking about Whoa.
You can't really be this bad faith. I need you to give me a better, okay, do your moral grandstanding. Then afterwards, I need you to give me a better summary of the other side. Because there's no possible way that that's like, yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna play piano while you moral grandstand for like 2 minutes. And then I'm gonna ask you again for the question. Can you explain the downsides of the other side if you force women to go through pregnancies they don't want to? And it has to be more than just, I accidentally protected life. Let me know when you're ready.
Have a conversation with someone. Like, I'm not trying to morally grandstand, right? I don't appreciate you calling this morally grandstanding. Again, we have had this conversation multiple times where you're continuously disrespecting me and I don't appreciate it.
Jubilee Zoomer wanted to talk with you. I had to temporarily block him to rent Dogpile because I'm just not dealing with that right now, but if he wants to have a real conversation at some point, I think it'd be good. I have a feeling this is all he has though, just trying to dunk on people. I also get really annoyed when people are like, oh, you're just trying to dunk on people. No, I'm not, bro. I was relentlessly good faith in that conversation. How can you say that I was the one searching for dunks? Like, how could you ever watch that conversation and come away thinking that I'm the one just trying to, I don't know, felt stupid.
How dare you?
Oh boy. Hello. Hey, what's up?
Well, Jim, what's going on?
Nothing much. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I just got back from the doctor, like I told you.
Cool. Well, how was your doctor visit? Was it exciting?
Super exciting. They told me I have a virus, which is super cool to hear.
Cool. Well, that's exciting. Hopefully you're gonna make a full recovery, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Okay, introduce yourself. For the audience is dying to know who you are.
Hi, my name is Ayala Eisenberg. I am on Twitter at ProLifeUS and also on Instagram, and I recently did my second Jubilee Middle Ground talking about abortion, which is how Destiny came to be my #1 fan.
Awesome. True. So you were tweeting about me recently. You seemed fairly upset. Do you want to catch us up on what's going on with that?
I mean, I wouldn't say I was upset. I make tweets. Like, that's what I do. I'm basically a professional tweeter. You did some kind of podcast with Lila Rose and Kristen Hawkins, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And then there were a couple things that I commented on. There were 2 clips that I saw of you from this, like, real asshole. The guy who posted those clips was just such a dickhead. But he posted a clip of you saying, like, to call a fetus a person is like to call a nut a tree. And then you, there was another clip where you said, like, according to pro-life logic, like, miscarriages would be the same as leaving an infant to starve, and everybody was really upset about that. And that was basically the 2 things that I said something about.
Okay, well, where do you want to start? Which one of those do you want to start with?
I feel like we've already talked a little bit about the first one. Yeah.
Wait, what was the first one again? The part about it not end up being a tree?
Yeah, I think we've talked about that. We had like a back and forth about that on Twitter, but we haven't talked about the second one.
Okay. Well, we can talk about the second one if you want.
Sure.
Hey, Ted.
One of your orbiters has already got into me, or got into it with me over that one, so.
Okay, then that means you should be even more prepared for the conversation, huh?
I don't think you could be more prepared for a conversation about miscarriages than like having had multiple. So yeah, I would say that I'm prepared to have a
Jesus.
conversation about the reality of miscarriage.
Sure, we can talk about it, but I don't think having a miscarriage means you necessarily know anything about a miscarriage. You can literally have a miscarriage
Someone
without
in
even
chat
knowing
just
you're
said
pregnant or that you
yours
miscarried. But
18.
sure, okay. Well, where do you want to start? Do you want me to open my argument, or do you want to give me your pushback against my argument?
I mean, go ahead. I don't want to take what you said out of context or misconstrue what you said. So I'd appreciate you telling me like exactly what you meant by that, and I don't like want to put words in your mouth or anything.
Yeah, sure. So basically, if we're considering fetuses to be human persons' lives that ought to be defended and endowed with all the same rights as like a baby, then in my opinion, we should be taking way more aggressive steps to limit the amount of miscarriages that are happening with women that are having sex. So I don't know if that would mean that if you have sex, you immediately have to check into a facility somewhere, or you're like, we outlaw sex without using a ton of protection firsthand or whatever. But we have to do something to be very, very, very aggressive to help with the massive amount of early, like first trimester or early weeks miscarriages that are happening without people even realizing it. Because it's possibly like the greatest loss of life that's occurring worldwide right now.
So like at the highest estimates, like about 20% of pregnancies end in miscarriage. It's 10 to 20% of pregnancies. So I guess what you were saying in the clip, again, correct me if I'm wrong, you were saying we would, according to pro-life logic, need to check women into hospitals as soon as they have sex so that we can monitor whether or not they get pregnant. And then if they are pregnant, we have to keep them there and make sure that they're healthy. Is that what you said?
Something to make people aware that they're pregnant early on, and then take really aggressive steps to limit the likelihood of a miscarriage. Yes.
Just like we do with born children, right? Like how we permanently hospitalize them to make sure that they don't die of any illness.
I mean, you do hospitalize them early on if you're at risk for illness. So I have a son, and he was hospitalized early on.
You don't hospitalize all children.
I didn't say you hospitalize all children, but if it is the case that 1 out of 5 pregnancies are ending in miscarriage, and maybe even more, and women just aren't aware of it, it seems like we should be taking really aggressive steps to correct for those early miscarriages, right? Because if that's true, that means more children have died from miscarriage than have died from abortion, right?
Well, do you know what a miscarriage is? Like, explain to me what you think a miscarriage is and why you think miscarriages happen.
I imagine there's probably tons of different reasons why miscarriages happen. There's probably a lot of different types of miscarriages. I'm sure that there are some miscarriages that happen because of, for some reason, implantation doesn't happen. I'm sure there are some miscarriages that happen because of genetic coding issues in the early days of the zygote splitting apart. I'm sure there are probably miscarriages that happen because of the condition of the mother being unaware that she's pregnant. There's probably a ton of reasons why miscarriages happen. I don't know them all. I can look it up on Wikipedia if you want me to.
So I'll explain it to you because I actually do know this. Most miscarriages happen, like a majority of miscarriages happen, because there's genetic chromosomal issues with the embryo when it's first developing, and it just physically cannot grow and develop properly. So a majority of miscarriages are not preventable. There's nothing that you can do. It's just because of the way that the DNA came together, it wasn't formed properly. And the other miscarriages that aren't because of that, which I mean, again, like, we're talking about things like bifurcated uteruses. So like the way a woman's uterus is physically formed, like her uterus is shaped in such a way that it's difficult for her body to stay pregnant and for implantation to happen properly. There's women who are like chronically underweight, or they have some kind of chronic illness that makes it difficult for their body to deal with pregnancy. But it's really not something like there's almost like 0% of miscarriages that are happening because women aren't like getting the proper nutrients, or because women work out. Like somebody like the guy who posted that clip was basically arguing like women who work out and have miscarriages because of that. And I think there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation around why miscarriages happen. And I think that's really dangerous, and it contributes to this culture of stigma that we have around child loss. But I want to make it very clear that like a majority of miscarriages we can't do anything about, and miscarriages it's in no way a woman's fault when she has a miscarriage. Like, you can almost guarantee that the reason she had it was not something she had any control over.
Okay, that might be the case. I'm looking up and I'm seeing about 50% of miscarriages are associated with extra or missing chromosomes. Most often, this is from the Mayo Clinic. I guess we could bump that number up more if you wanted to, but let's say that I grant all of this. Let's say that it's because of chromosomal abnormalities that miscarriages are happening because of this reason. Let's say I increase that from 50 to 100% or 99%. Wouldn't we then say that since we have the technology to do like in vitro fertilization and stuff, shouldn't we be using alternative methods of conception that might have a lower risk of these genetic abnormalities happening? Or
you think IVF has a lower risk of abnormalities than normal
I don't know, I'm
sex?
asking, does it?
I am under the impression that it doesn't. In fact, it's a very common thing for IVF conceived babies to be discarded because they have genetic abnormalities, because there's issues that happen with the way that they're created in a lab.
I don't
That's
know.
a common pro-life argument against IVF, is because there is a significant number of embryos that are simply discarded and destroyed because they have genetic abnormalities.
Gotcha. Let's see. I don't know much about IVF. Let me check. For women over 35, oh, that's a different thing. Oh, and then also here's I'll shoot you this. I haven't done too much digging into this before. These are all kind of peripheral abortion arguments, but this seems to say that the results of this were the potentially modifiable pre-pregnant risk factors associated with increased miscarriage risk were age of 30 years or more, at conception, underweight, and obesity. During pregnancy, the modifiable risk factors were alcohol consumption, lifting over 20 kilograms daily, and night work. We estimate that 25.2% of the miscarriages might be prevented by reduction of all these risk factors to low levels. Modification of risk factors acting before and during pregnancy could lead to prevention of 14.7% and 12.5% respectively of all miscarriages. Do you think if you could prevent 10 to 20% of miscarriages, do you think that would be worth taking aggressive steps early on after sexual activity to try to, I guess, like mitigate that risk?
I mean, it depends what you mean by aggressive steps, right? So, like, you can definitely inform women much better about, like, what causes miscarriages, like, what their risk is for a miscarriage. Because I think that a lot of OBGYNs just don't take the time to do that properly and have those conversations. But I think there's a difference, right, in saying that you're not allowed to kill somebody versus the government stepping in and telling you that you have to take every precaution conceivable to make sure that your child doesn't die. Because
I disagree on some of this.
With born children, there's a lot of things that could cause a child to die. Obviously, again, with miscarriage, it's overwhelmingly things that are not preventable. But with born children, the government doesn't have the authority to come into your house and bubble wrap every surface and take these extreme measures like hospitalizing your child constantly to monitor their health. That's not something that you can demand of people, right? But you can demand that people don't kill their children.
Yeah, we don't have to take it all the way. So, like, for instance, my understanding is that if you let your child starve to death, you would probably be in big trouble by the government. I don't know if you would catch a murder charge for that, but I know that you can have significant penalties. I know that, like, parents... I haven't seen the details, but I know there were parents that were charged with murder recently because their 17-year-old child was killed, or not was killed, wasn't killed, I'm sorry, but they died due to neglect. I'd have to look at the details of that. But sometimes people who are pro-life try to draw this big distinction between allowing harm and doing harm. But I think in some cases we would recognize that there's not much of a difference, right? Like if I had a 6-month-old child, I set it down and I didn't feed it for 2 weeks, nobody would say like, okay, well, you didn't kill him because it's not like you actively did something to him, you just let them die. I don't think people would see as much of a distinction there.
I mean, sure, but like that's not what a miscarriage is, right? So like if you are pregnant, you are feeding your baby. You would not yourself be alive if you were not feeding your baby while you're pregnant. You might not be getting all of the possible essential nutrients, but like generally speaking, you are feeding your baby. And the body is incredibly resilient, right? Human beings are incredibly resilient. So even with these issues, like if you weren't eating enough while pregnant, that's not usually going to cause your baby to die. That's not something that's happening. Again, miscarriages are happening because of these mostly issues that we can't really do anything about. Like even with modern medical technology, these are things that are fundamental to pregnancy, and it's just a part of life.
But it seems like
sometimes people die. Sometimes people die. That's not the same thing as killing people, though, is it?
Sure, but if babies are dying, usually we would take really aggressive steps to limit the number of babies dying.
If we can do anything about it, yeah, sure. But we're talking about things that we physically cannot do anything about.
Yeah, but if it was the case that like 20% of miscarriages could be prevented, then wouldn't we want to aggressively do something to ensure? Because how many pregnancies are there, right? In a given.
Well, what exactly are you suggesting we do to prevent those miscarriages?
I don't know. It could be aggressive dieting plans. It could be restricting the type of people that are allowed to get pregnant, depending on likelihood
So
for
eugenics?
miscarriage.
You want us to do eugenics?
I think if
You want us to
anything,
have
I think
programs
if
where we tell
anything.
people-
I mean, you could view this as eugenics, or you could view this as the opposite of eugenics, technically. Because if you're the one that's viewing a fetus as a life, arguably you saying that anybody should be able to have kids when some people are more likely to murder children over and over again by engaging in sexual behavior that they know has a high likelihood of causing a miscarriage. You could argue in a roundabout way that that's kind of a form of eugenics. But
Yeah,
I mean,
again, that's not what murder is. It's not murder to have a child die outside of your control. That's still not what murder
sure.
is.
Let's say, well, here's hypothetical. Let's say,
it is not.
Okay,
I am
we're
not
gonna do this again.
arguing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are going to do this. I'm not arguing that people who have, for example, like chronic health conditions and severe like disabilities that they have like they're carriers for. I don't think those people should be prevented from having sex and conceiving children just because their child could possibly inherit that could have inherit the condition. Excuse me, and that child could die. My cat just bit my leg, and I don't think that this eugenics program is the same thing as saying you're not allowed to kill people. Like, I think that eugenics is the opposite of the pro-life ideology. Like, Margaret Sanger made that very clear. Eugenics is a very pro-abortion stance. And I don't think that limiting the amount of life we're allowed to bring into the world based off of how they could possibly maybe die because of all the things that could go wrong with their genetics, these pre-existing conditions, like that's not even remotely the same thing as saying do not actively directly kill somebody via ripping their limbs apart, by suctioning them out of their mother's body into a vacuum. I think that that's completely different.
So when you say it would never be ethical to limit life coming into the world, do you think it would be unethical to bring a child into the world if you knew for a fact that it would starve to death in the first 2 weeks because you don't have food to feed it or the mother?
What do you mean?
What part of that didn't you understand?
So you're asking me if would it be ethical for you as a mother to give birth?
Yeah, let's say that you knew for a fact that you wouldn't be able to feed a child for 2 weeks coming into the world. Would it be ethical for you to bring that child into life knowing that it's going to starve to death in 2 weeks?
As opposed to, I mean, at that point, you are close to giving birth if you know that somehow. So you would be going into a late-term abortion procedure, which would involve injecting that child with potassium chloride, which is the same chemical we execute death row inmates with, by the way, and it's incredibly painful. And then ripping that child apart limb by limb, right? With no anesthetics, like nothing numbing the pain for that child. That child can absolutely feel that pain, and it's excruciating. You think that would be a better solution? Because
Nope.
that's what we're talking about here,
No,
right?
that's not what I asked. That's literally not what I asked at all.
Yeah.
It's literally not what we're talking about. I asked a really simple question. I said, would it be ethical to...
I think this might be her first sign of becoming obsessed with describing gory, painful abortion procedures. We'll see if that used to play up, as it does with many people against abortion. Yep. They just get so into describing that shit. Man, why is my voice so quiet?
to bring a child into this world knowing that you couldn't feed it? The alternative might be, for instance, not getting pregnant. I'm challenging you because one of the statements you gave was that it's not ethical to limit life. Let me, real quick. The reason why I'm providing this challenge is because I know that a lot of people like to wield around the word eugenics as some scary thing, but I'm not going to get scared off just because you're screaming eugenics at me. So my question is, and I'll repeat it, is would it be ethical to bring a child into the world knowing that it could starve to death in 2 weeks because you don't have the food to feed it? I'm challenging your idea that it's never ethical to limit life coming to the world.
It would be better to not get pregnant if you knew that you couldn't provide for a child. Okay. But I don't think that's a reason to murder that child, because that's what we're talking about. Like, abortion.
I'm not talking about murder at all. I'm not even close to that. We're not even talking about abortion right now.
Yeah.
No, we're not even
Yes,
talking
we
about
are.
abortion right now. I'm challenging your statement. You said that you didn't like this eugenics idea, that it's ethical to limit life coming into the world.
Because you were literally talking about whether or not we should implement a eugenics program where the government tells people with disabilities and chronic conditions that they shouldn't try to have children because those children might have a higher chance of of dying. And that is eugenics, Destiny. And I don't appreciate you saying that I'm using that word in a way to, like, I'm trying to scare you or something. That's literally what you are describing. So let's be very clear about what we're talking about right now. You are describing eugenics, and I'm telling you that eugenics is wrong.
That's fine that you believe that, but a lot of people are
I don't understand why you're comparing
Uh-huh.
not telling people who might give a genetic condition to their child that limits that child's life. I don't understand why you're comparing people who have chronic conditions having children to women giving birth knowing their baby's going to starve to death in a week. And I don't see what any of this has to do with the direct murder of human beings, which is what abortion is.
Gotcha. Okay. So typically if you're having a discussion around a really complicated moral issue, usually you're trying to go piece by piece to figure out what the other person's stated position is, right? You said a lot of things that I don't think you agree with, and that's what I'm testing. So for instance, one of the things you said was it's never ethical to limit life coming into the world, and I challenged you on that, and it seems like you agree that there might be cases where it's ethical to limit life coming into the world. So since we agree that it is ethical, now it's a matter of finding out when it's ethical and when it's not. I'm just testing because a lot of the times when I have debates with people over moral issues, they will try to steamroll with like 5 or 10 different moral statements, but when you start to break those apart individually, they don't actually feel that strongly about them. They just kind of hope that you take all 5 or 10 of them at once and assume that you have an overwhelming amount of evidence for your position. So that's why I'm asking.
I can assure you that I do feel very strongly about eugenics, Stephen.
Right. So do you think that eugenics is always wrong?
What do you mean by eugenics?
Well, what do you mean by eugenics? Well, tell me what you mean by eugenics. Go ahead.
What I'm saying, I feel like what I'm saying, what I'm talking about eugenics might be different from what you mean when you're talking about eugenics, because you seem to agree with it. So tell me, what do you think eugenics means?
Do you want me to give my definition first? Or do you want to give your definition?
I'm asking you for your definition.
On my definition, on the broadest level, eugenics seems to be doing something to try to encourage or discourage certain types of people from reproducing, like a very, very broad sense.
Fine. Let's work with that definition.
Okay. Do you think it's always wrong to discourage certain types of people from having children or from having certain children born?
It depends what you mean by discourage. If you're talking about the government coming in and telling people who can and cannot have children, I think that is wrong.
Sure. Okay. So we're not talking about the government right now. Let's just talk morally. Do you think that it might... I'm not interested in having a conversation about my personal feelings about these things. I'm talking about what I think the government should be allowed to do about these things. Okay, but what is law and government policy if not downstream from our personal ethical convictions? That's literally where law and policy comes from.
There is a difference between what I think might be moral or ethical and what the government is allowed to do with that, right?
Sure, but I generally think that your prescription here is going to follow from your moral or ethical points. I'm just curious on your individual moral or ethical idea, because you said eugenics is always wrong. You didn't say it should be illegal or outlawed or it shouldn't be government enforced. You said it's wrong. So I'm just curious if you actually believe that.
Using my definition of eugenics, which is directly tied to governments going out of their way to fund and to facilitate eugenics programs, because that's how eugenics has functioned, right, in modern history. The government has funded these programs and they have encouraged these programs. I want to be really clear right now that I think the government having eugenics programs is wrong. And I hope that you would agree with me.
Well, it depends on how you define eugenics. How do you define eugenics?
We're working with your definition.
Okay,
so
then I would say I don't think it's always wrong then. No, I don't.
Okay, why?
Because there might be certain types of children that you want to avoid bringing into the world for a variety of reasons. For instance, I think in a lot of European countries, I could be wrong. I thought this in Scandinavia. You can test in the womb for if a child might have Down syndrome, and some people might prefer to abort those children rather than carry them to term and then go through that in life. I think that if you're able to identify that at an incredibly early age, I don't think an abortion there would necessarily be a bad thing. I think that might be an ethical form of eugenics, perhaps.
You think it's ethical to kill children with Down syndrome before they are born, even though Down syndrome is not like a life-limiting condition. Like, it's not going to threaten your physical health to have Down syndrome.
No, but it destroys and degrades the quality of life of every single person around you.
And you're saying that we get to decide that for that person.
I can only do it statistically speaking. But I'm sure there might be some people that are really happy to have a Down syndrome child, but...
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of activists who have Down syndrome who are talking about the situations in these countries right now where Iceland, there's nobody with Down syndrome in Iceland. Like, no new babies being born with Down syndrome because they all get aborted. And these people have come out and said that it's wrong to kill somebody and to decide for them that it's better to be dead than to have Down syndrome. I think that's a bad statement. Would you agree with me?
Say that again?
That it's better to be dead than to have Down syndrome? Do you think that's a fair statement?
Well, no, we're not talking about whether you should be dead. We're talking about whether you should
Because
be...
that's what an abortion does. Abortions kill
Oh, I'm sorry. I
people.
thought I was going to get
It
to
is
finish
not-
my statement. My bad. The question wasn't
Yeah.
whether or not you're dead. The question is whether or not you are ever alive, right? So it might be the case,
That's not
for
what
instance...
we're talking about.
Well, I'm testing your principles on this. We don't even necessarily have to be talking about we don't necessarily have to be talking about abortion. We could be talking about preventing people who have Down syndrome or a high likelihood of giving birth to Down syndrome kids from having children. That might be the case. So there might be some neurodegenerative diseases that people maybe should avoid having children with, maybe.
Okay, well, I'm interested in talking about abortion because it's what I talk about. That's what I do. So you think it's better because an abortion kills a fetus.
Mm-hmm.
A successful abortion always kills a fetus. That's not an opinion. That's a fact.
Mm-hmm.
You think that it's better to kill somebody than for them to have Down syndrome. We're not
What?
talking
Okay.
about not conceiving that child.
What? Okay. Fuck. I'm being stupid right now. How old are you again?
I'm 19.
Okay. What is your goal in this conversation?
I don't know. You asked me to talk to you.
Okay, sure.
Jesus Christ. She is 19 and she has had multiple miscarriages, apparently. Ooh. At the part earlier where he was like, the point of discussing complicated topics is that we want to like ask questions and get step by step to see what our interlocutor thinks. I don't know if I would call her like a debater, so I fucking had to use the meme word interlocutor. But yeah, I don't know. I just, if it was me in Destiny's position, I don't know if I would have been able to like pass that sentence. By that point, I would have just been so like frustrated. But it's admirable. I feel like I could probably take notes. I probably feel like I probably should be taking notes of what he's doing here.
But I'm trying to engage you with our brains having a dialogue back and forth to figure out what we believe, where we stand, and then to move the conversation forward. But you understand that, like, when you say things like, oh, so you think it's okay to kill a baby and you just want to murder all babies, and you think when you murder a baby that's okay to kill a baby, right? You're not actually like
Not how I'm
engaging. That is
you. I'm just
exactly
asking you a
that is
question.
exact. No,
No, it's not.
You're not
I'm
asking me
asking you
questions. You're not even remotely attempting to engage with what I'm saying. You think that if you
Yes,
just
I
keep
am.
hammering me with like the same statements you're probably used to screeching outside at people while you're holding your signs, that's somehow a way of like winning the conversation, which is fine. If you want to talk about what you can. It's just boring for me. But I mean, like, that's cool if you want. So here's a question. So you
Did
mentioned
you condescend harder? Like, do you think it would be physically possible for you to condescend harder to me?
when you
Question
ask me
that you are
questions.
some kind of political debater, right? That's what you do. You're like 30-something. You're a political debater. That's your job.
Mhm.
If you are not prepared for a conversation like that, that's fine. We can have a talk about how my day's been. I don't care. But I'm here to get some answers from you about what you've been talking about recently. And yeah, I'm not here to have baby sweet time talk with you. That's not what we're doing. I'm under that impression. But if you're more comfortable, if I have a soft voice, if I talk like a good woman, then I'm with that. But I don't understand why you're acting like I'm screaming at you when I'm just asking you the questions that are related to the subject.
I just love how similar the far left and the far right people are when it comes to their demeanor. So that's very entertaining to me.
You think I'm far left or far right?
It's just, well, no, it's like any kid that's incredibly dogmatic and ideologically, partisanly driven on some issue that you all kind of like speak the same, which is funny to me. Like
Oh, what, like you?
the accusations of misogyny and like all the shitters is very funny to me. Okay, so here's a question. Okay, let's say that a woman knows she has a 95% chance of miscarriage if she gets pregnant. Do you think it's ethical for a person like that to get pregnant, knowing that 19?
We're not talking about whether or not it's ethical for somebody to get pregnant. Like, that's not what I'm interested in discussing. I'm interested in whether or not you think it's okay to kill someone for having Down syndrome, and whether or not killing someone is better than a Down syndrome person, like a person who has Down syndrome existing. Like, you think
so-
it's better to kill that person?
Okay, this is why I'm saying you're not actually engaging in a conversation.
Just answer the question, dude.
I'm curious. Can you answer that for me? What do you think I'm gonna say? You
don't know
asked me
what
the
you're going
question.
to say.
You
I
don't know if I'm gonna say if it's okay or not to kill a person with Down syndrome.
Because that's what you're arguing for with your position about Iceland's ratio of people who don't have Down syndrome. It's because they're all aborted.
I just
And you are
want to hear you. Yeah. So I'm just curious. Just guess. Take a guess. What do you think my answer is going to be? Am I okay with killing people with Down syndrome?
I can't tell you what you're going to say. I don't know who you are, Stephen.
I would say probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So why is it okay to abort those people then?
We haven't even gotten to the abortion thing yet. Right now,
We just got to it. I feel like we
hold
just
on.
got to it.
No.
Let's talk about it.
Right now, we're literally asking because you said eugenics is always wrong. That was the statement that I wanted to fight on. But it sounds to me like you personally, you don't actually believe that eugenics is wrong. You think that all forms of abortion are wrong, and eugenics just.
I do think that eugenics is wrong. Operating under my definition of eugenics, understand that eugenics is fundamentally tied to government intervention, and people.
Do you think eugenics
disabilities,
doesn't have to
people
be
of certain
tied to
races.
government intervention, right?
It usually is though, right? And the way
Usually,
it's
but by
practically
definition, it doesn't have to be, right?
I think it is wrong for the government to tell Jewish people, people who aren't white, people with disabilities that they can't have children, right? I think that that's wrong. And I hope we can both agree on that. So
Sure, but I'm
now
saying
we've
that
answered
like having like a
should we talk
society
about
that
what we're
encourages
actually
people
talking
with
about?
a society that encourages people with certain genetic abnormalities to not have children. You could argue that that is like a form of eugenics, right? Like for instance, some people argue that abortion is a form of eugenics on black people because a lot of black babies, proportionally speaking, get aborted. But that's not like a government enforced program, right?
I mean, the abortion industry is subsidized by the government. Yes, you could argue that. But I mean,
Wait, is
I'm not really
subsidization by the
interested-
government, does that make it eugenics then?
I mean, it's inherently connected to the government, and the government is encouraging it. So I think that that would make it, more of a eugenics program if the government's directly doing it.
Okay, so then is all form of abortion that gets any type of government support, is that all eugenics or?
I mean, again, you have to deal with the other component of the definition of eugenics, which is limiting the amount of certain kinds of people who are born. So, I mean, if you want to talk specifically about abortion businesses that are funded and subsidized directly by the government who do abort a disproportionate amount of certain groups of people because they are deliberately planned to be in those neighborhoods and to reach out to those certain groups of people, then yes, you could argue that's a form of eugenics. I'm personally interested in having a conversation about whether or not deciding not to have a baby because you're worried about giving it some genetic trait you have. I'm not interested in having a conversation about whether or not that's ethical, right? Because I think the far more interesting conversation is regarding the active mass murder of children right now, which is completely legal in the United States. I think that's wrong.
Sure, and I can understand that, but then my questions earlier around the miscarriage stuff was that there's also like a massive like death of some preventable miscarriage. There's also being like the massive death of children. I think that if we do agree, and like I said, I could go dig for more numbers, but right now what I'm saying is 25% of miscarriages are preventable. If it was the case that that millions of children across the United States were dying due to preventable things like not being fed, that would be a thing that it would probably be like my number one list of priorities to address. That there are 25% of children's deaths in the United States are easily preventable things. So if it was the case that an abortion is murdering somebody or a miscarriage is the death of a child, if I say that 25% of those miscarriages are identifiable, that should be like your guys' next step, because that's like the biggest loss of child life in the United States then.
Again, it's not because they're not being fed, right? We just went over this. Those other
I never said it wasn't because you're not being fed, but I'm saying it's because of preventable causes.
You literally just said of not being fed, right? So
well, no, I compared it to
what
a
you're
starving
saying.
child, but I'm saying that like these are preventable in some way.
Right. So it's not comparable to a starving child. That's what I'm trying to illustrate to you. So if we're talking about those other percentage of miscarriages, again, we're talking about things that, while theoretically are preventable, they're not really in any practical terms. Like women who have bifurcated uteruses, for example, getting pregnant. This is not really a preventable thing, unless we get the
I'm
government
not talking
involved,
about
right?
the ones
So
that
if we're
aren't
talking-
preventable. I'm talking about the ones that are preventable.
We're the percentage that you listed includes those kinds of cases, right? So if we're talking
No,
about...
it doesn't. No.
Yes, it does. So if we're...
No, it says modifiable risk factors were.
Stephen, can
Please don't. Hold on, you're triggering me. Don't do that. Okay. Okay. It says
Stephen.
modifiable risk factors were alcohol consumption, lifting of over 20 kilograms daily, and night work. Those are the modifiable risk factors that they looked at in this Danish study.
I am far more concerned with the direct killing of thousands, actually millions of children in the United States, right?
Why are you more concerned about that than the miscarriages?
Because directly killing someone, right, is, I think, much of a bigger issue than children dying from things that we maybe could possibly prevent, which are still a minority of miscarriages by far. And I think it's also important that this mass killing is not just happening; it's that it's legal, right? So we're condoning it as a society.
Okay.
Yes,
so
I am
then some
far more
degree of
concerned
like
with
so
that.
then some degree of negligence that results in child death should be totally A-okay in your society.
No, I didn't just say that. That's not what I said. Why are you putting words in my mouth?
Well, because that's what you're saying. That if 25%
No,
of
it's not what
miscarriages
I'm
are
saying.
preventable, a miscarriage,
because
we should
no,
actually hold on. Wait.
miscarriage is negligent.
We need to stop saying miscarriage. We need to say baby death. Okay, because that's really what you're talking about, right? So 25% of baby deaths in the United States that happen from miscarriages. Do you think those are
That's not
acceptable?
all-
That happen from negligence?
So you can't interchange the term miscarriage with baby death, even though it is the death of a child. I have lost 2 children to
Death of
miscarriage.
a child is baby death, right?
Well, yes, but it's not. It's a very specific kind of
Baby
death. Of a
death.
child, right?
I agree, but there's some baby
yeah.
death that's just due to negligence or, preventable factors, right?
You think that
We can call it infanticide if you want, maybe.
you're
But
arguing. Well, infanticide is a very specific legal term that means the death of a child that was already born.
Okay.
And in fact, infanticide is actually the killing of a child that was already born, not just the death of a child. But if we're going to be specific, I think that what I'm confused about is why you're assigning blame to these women inherently.
because
with
it
the
can happen
language
due
that
to
you're choosing to
negligence.
use.
Yeah, because it can happen due to
But
negligence.
that's not what negligence is it?
It is. It is. If there's a modifiable risk factor that could increase the likelihood of you carrying a child to term, then you not following through on that would be the child dying due to negligence, the baby death.
You think that a woman not happening to know that she has some kind of genetic issue that causes her to have a higher percentage of miscarriages and then having a miscarriage because of this thing that she didn't know about, you think that's negligence?
The 3 controllable, modifiable risk factors here that I see are alcohol consumption, lifting over 20 kilograms daily, and night work. And this says that we estimate that by 25.2% of the miscarriages might be prevented by reduction of all these risk factors to low levels. So not consuming alcohol, not lifting more than 20 kilograms daily, and avoiding work at night. Those seem to be things that you probably, if you're going to murder a child, you should probably be aware of these things, I would imagine.
I mean, it's illegal in a lot of states to drink while you're pregnant and to do drugs while you're pregnant. And if that's what we're talking about, yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Well,
If you know
no.
you're
We're not talking
pregnant
about
and you
making it
drink and you do
illegal. We're
drugs.
talking about making aggressive steps to find women that are pregnant, because some women might have sex and not know they're pregnant. So that you literally are creating a baby that could be negligently killed, essentially, by not being really aggressive and helping these women identify early pregnancies.
Like, how would we do that?
I don't know. What's the earliest you can pee on a strip and find out? Isn't it like 1 week or 2 weeks after a missed period?
Oh, okay. I was like, no, you can't know if you're 1 week pregnant. Oh my God.
Yes,
No.
this is why
So
we
you
let
have
people
to-
finish their sentences. Yeah, I'm pretty sure by 1 or 2 weeks after a missed period, I think the success rate is like 99% on like a take-home pregnancy test, isn't it?
Yeah, so after you're 6 weeks pregnant.
Wait, is it after you're 6 weeks pregnant?
Yeah, so
Okay.
pregnancy is measured, yeah.
Sure. So then, so we should like really aggressively try to find these women, right, that are having sex.
How? Why?
What do you mean? Why? Hold on. Let me just make a quick point. Wait. I just want to make a.
Institutionalize
I understand.
all
I understand.
women
I
who
understand.
are having sex.
Sure.
What are you
So,
talking about?
I understand, and I like that you respond this way because I agree. It's a really goofy line of questioning, but I think the issue is that intuitively you know that your position is silly. Because if it was the case
No,
that
that was not my
if it
position.
was the case that a zygote, that a fetus of one cell size, if it was the case that that was a human being, a living baby that was endowed with all these rights, you wouldn't be so incredulous when you say things like, oh, why would you try to find that out? Why would you even care? But the reason why you're doing it is such a laughable concept to try to save
you're
a
trying really hard
6-week-old
to
fetus.
shoehorn me.
I'm not
So a
shoehorning you anyway.
6-week-old
I'm
fetus-
telling you, this is how you're reacting. You're laughing because the concept of trying to save a.
Steven,
Please don't
Steven.
say that. You're triggering me. Don't talk to me that
Cry
way,
about
okay?
it. Steven, listen. First of all, a 6-week fetus is not a single-celled organism. I don't know
Wait, what's
where
your
you
name?
went to school. I just told you my name at the beginning of this conversation.
I don't fucking remember. It was a long time ago.
My name is Ayala.
Ayala?
Yes.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
It's Hebrew.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
a 6-week fetus is not the size of a single cell. That is
Really?
not accurate.
Do you think that I don't know that?
Well, you just seem to get those two things conflated, so I wanted to clarify.
How
for
did I get
people.
those two things conflated? Go ahead and tell me.
You said preventing the deaths of 6-week fetuses, and then you said embryo that's the size of like a single cell or something like that, and that's just not. That's not what we're talking
your
about. the 6-week
position
fetus.
is that you
But
think
even-
that a wait. Your position is you think a single-celled organ.
Again, you keep
wait,
saying your position. You don't know what my position is,
oh,
right? So
okay.
let me tell you
Wait,
what it
tell
is.
me. When does the fetus become endowed with the rights to human life? Tell me. Go ahead.
Hang on.
Hanging.
Let's walk this back for like 10 minutes ago.
Okay. Iola. Tell me.
Ayala, you keep telling me that I have this position and that I know that my logic is silly and that's why I'm laughing. Destiny, it's your logic that you are presenting me with and projecting onto me. I never said these things.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe you don't think moment of conception. Yeah, so tell me. Go ahead.
You are arguing that I believe something that you are projecting onto me. I want to be very clear. I have not agreed that we should put
I understand.
women. Heck, no, you don't understand. So I'm going to explain it to you.
I'm just asking you.
are
Please, Lale Lule Lo, tell me. When do you think that like a baby is like a baby? When is it worth protecting? At what stage in conception or gestation?
I think life does begin at conception, but I don't think that that means that we should put women who are pregnant in the hospital and monitor their health and stop them from maybe having a miscarriage, because it's not something we do for born people, right?
No, it is.
That's not reasonable care.
It actually super is. As a father of a son, yes, okay, I can tell you, I have experience. If your child, when they come out of the womb, if there are any health issues, then they will keep that child in the hospital for a little bit to monitor them to make sure that they're safe, because they would not send home.
But we don't keep all children in the hospital.
I didn't say we keep all children, but my understanding is there aren't a lot of children that have a 25% chance of being instantly fucking destroyed when they're born. But if there was a condition like that, you probably would keep all those children in the hospital. Would you agree?
Okay. Are you arguing that we keep all pregnant women in the hospital, or just pregnant women that might have some of these pre-existing conditions that
I'm saying
force
that
them to...
I'm saying that in the very beginning stages after you have sex, we should probably be taking really aggressive steps to identify people that are pregnant if you believe that baby death is happening, if they have a preventable miscarriage.
And you're defining that as like drinking or
And this one
lifting
study,
at the gym.
Danish study, well, you can find 20 kilograms of stuff to lift outside of the gym, believe it or not. But it seemed like the modifiable risk factors were alcohol consumption, lifting of over 20 kilograms daily, and night work.
And you're arguing that we keep, according to what you think is my logic, you're arguing that if I actually gave a shit about miscarried babies like my own, we would put all of those women in the hospital. We would identify them somehow. God only knows how. They would know that they were pregnant somehow. God only knows how. And we would keep them in the hospital to make sure they didn't have a miscarriage. That's what you think I believe.
Well, I'm saying that your logic commits you to that position. Now, I agree that it's funny.
It doesn't.
I think that's funny. But it's only funny because how ridiculous the notion is that we're doing so much effort to protect like a 1 or 2 week old thing. I agree that it's funny, but you don't understand the reason why you're laughing is because intuitively you know that's funny as well.
The reason I'm laughing is because you're trying to impose a position on me that is not aligned with my logic, and that inherently doesn't make sense in line with my logic, actually. Okay. And I don't think that you quite understand what my logic is.
Okay.
And that's why I tried to talk to you about abortion.
Sure. How about let's. I'm gonna write down your logic, and then you tell me where I'm making a mistake. Okay. Ready?
Destiny, do you want to talk about abortion or not? Because this whole time you've been trying to sidestep the issue, even when I specifically brought it up, and you said you didn't want to talk about abortion with me. That's my job, right? I talk about abortion. And if you're not comfortable having that conversation about why you think it's okay to kill people who have Down syndrome, that's fine. That's fine.
I never said we should kill people with Down syndrome, right?
Oh, okay. Then what did you say?
I said that selecting to have children or not based on Down syndrome is a form of eugenics that I think a lot of people are probably okay with. And the idea that eugenics bad, that's not something you can just throw out in the middle of an argument to try to win like brownie points with an audience if you're actually going to be critically analyzing the position.
So first of all, I am analyzing your position critically. It's a bad one. Second of all, I don't really care about winning brownie points with your audience because they're not going to like me anyway. Third of all, please answer the question then. Do you think that it's morally acceptable to abort babies for having Down syndrome? Mind you, that we do not find out very early in pregnancy that babies have Down syndrome, right?
I mean, I would say that before 20 weeks you can have an abortion, sure. But past 20 weeks, I don't think so. I think I'm on board with that. But that's been my position since the beginning, right?
When do you think babies are diagnosed with Down syndrome in the womb?
I mean, it depends on how invasive the procedure is, but I'm pretty sure you can know that around like 10 to 15 weeks. You can know it before the 20-week mark.
It can be performed as early as 11 to 14 weeks of pregnancy, but often it's detected about 15 to 22 weeks of pregnancy.
You added that too. I'm reading the exact same thing you're reading. It says between 15 and 20 weeks. Nice try though, Elio. Okay, I see what you're reading.
I'm on Alberta, and I don't think we have the same thing pulled up. It's done between 15 and 22 weeks of pregnancy. That's exactly what it says.
Okay, I saw the 11 to 14 weeks with the first trimester ultrasound and blood test. Screening can also be performed between 15 and 20 weeks by a blood test, but so it seems like it can be easily performed before 20 weeks.
I mean, it can be, but it's usually detected about 22 weeks in pregnancy.
Okay, could be. Well, then we would screen earlier because you probably want to kill a baby, right?
Okay. Do you think so you think it's morally okay to kill a baby that has Down syndrome so they do not have to live with Down syndrome?
I don't think it's okay to ever kill babies, no.
Oh, okay. Do you think it's okay to abort a baby?
I don't think it's okay to abort a baby. You mean have an abortion of like a fetus before 20 weeks? I think you can abort a fetus before 20 weeks for literally...
Sure, let's use the Latin term, which also means little baby. Fine, whatever makes you more comfortable. Let's use euphemism.
Well, if you want to do the
okay
etymology argument that you want to win, yeah, I think having an abortion before 20 weeks, I think, is generally okay. Yeah.
Okay, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
So, where do we stop with that?
20 weeks.
No, I mean, where do we draw the line? Like with this eugenics line of argument, like, do you think it's okay?
For eugenics line of argument, I would say, well, here, do you want to take the really funny guesses first? Do you want to say we should abort all black people or all Indian people? Which you can do your straw man, and then I can tell you what my position is. So I don't want to short circuit that argument.
I'm asking you what your position is. I don't want to put words in your mouth.
Oh, okay, because it sounded like you were just ready to do it. But yeah, I would say that aborting for things that are like developmentally would severely impact the life of the child or the life of people around it. That's probably an okay type of eugenics to perform in society. Eugenics that
give me some examples.
Sure. I think there's a disease called Tay-Sachs where like children live till they're like fucking 5 years old, I think. There's ichthyoquine tychosis. I can't even fucking pronounce it, but there's one where like the keratin is hardened of the baby's skin and the entire fucking baby's body is hardened. I don't know if those live generally past like a year or two. I'm sure there's a million other like genetic abnormalities that I don't know about that like have the child dying with before like 5 years of life. There's like a ton of different things like that. But like, yeah, I would say that in that case, because you're so developmentally focused upon it, okay. I would say that the types of abortions where you're trying to choose between features, aesthetic features, are probably not okay. For the same reason, I'd probably oppose like certain types of genetic modifications done to fertilized eggs, because I think that's probably not okay, that we're like designing babies for society to have blue eyes, brown eyes, white skin, whatever. But yeah, that's my general position on that.
Okay, so that's interesting though, because Down syndrome does not affect like the physical health of the people who have it. It's just.
Hold on, can you say that one more time? Wait. Before I Google, because I know you're wrong in 50 million ways. Can you say that again? You don't think people with Down syndromes don't have.
People who have Down syndrome are not dying when they're 5 years old of Down syndrome.
I didn't say they're dying when they're 5 years old.
Well, you're comparing it to like these other things where children die very young, and you're saying that Down syndrome you feel is on par with this.
Hold on. I didn't say you had to die very young. I'm just saying things that have a dramatically negative impact on your health and your development. Down syndrome is one of those things, and the people around you. Down syndrome is definitely one of those things. I think their life expectancy is like 20 years lower than average. They've got all sorts of other complications, health problems that arise from Down syndrome too. Like, I'm pretty sure people with Down syndrome have like major health problems for a lot of their life, depending on, I guess, the other issues they suffer. But I can go look up all those side effects.
I'll give you another example.
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
fine.
Go ahead.
So my fiance was born with a severe heart condition.
Okay.
And he had to have multiple major open heart surgeries before he turned 13.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it would have been okay if we had the technology to detect that in the womb, to have killed him in the womb because he would have to have those surgeries, even though he's perfectly healthy now? Do you think that would have been okay?
Before 20 weeks?
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm interested in why you draw the line at 20 weeks.
Well, I'm sure you saw my abortion debate, but that's the...
I didn't watch the whole thing. I watched like a clip.
Oh, okay. Don't worry. It's expected. You're 19. I would say
I just didn't know who you were, so I didn't really care that much.
Oh, you cared enough to tweet about me enough that I saw it, so...
That's my job.
Gotcha. Okay. I don't know if you get paid for that, but all right.
I actually do.
Yeah, okay. I don't believe you, but okay.
I get paid by POW.
I typically say that when the conscious experience begins to develop, that's the thing that we ought to protect, the conscious experience that somebody's having. You literally have my video thumbnail is literally your profile picture on Twitter. How are you saying you don't know who I am?
I actually didn't know who you were whenever you made that video, and I became vaguely aware of who you are because one of my friends reached out and said that Destiny made a video saying that you debated really good, and I thought that your edit of me was really funny. Also, don't think that I didn't notice there's a Star of David in between my eyebrows. I thought that was a very nice touch.
Wait, is there? Wait, really?
There is. Zoom in on it. There's a Star of David in between my eyebrows in that picture.
That's August. August, there's no way you did that, right? Okay, sorry. Anyway, go ahead. Or that's my position on abortion.
Okay. Oh, find the conscious experience. Like, what does that mean to you?
Well, it seems to be the case that when there is some amount of brain activity, there's an emergent phenomenon in human beings where we tend to have some subjective conscious experience where we're aware of ourselves and we're aware of the world. And that seems to require the communication of like different parts of the brain, the development of like certain brain structures in order for that to happen.
So you mean just like conscious awakeness or like conscious awareness?
I don't think this is a Star of David. Nice.
It totally is Star of David. It totally is.
It looks like an artifact from the fiery like shit that's in your eyes.
It's 100% a Star of David.
It is. I'll bet my life it is not. But,
I'll bet my life it is. It was put there by Hashem. I believe that.
Okay. It's an artifact for the eye thing. Destiny. Yeah, I figured. Sorry.
So,
Okay,
because
what was
there's a
your
difference
question again? Go
between.
ahead. Yeah.
Well, there's a difference between being awake and being like sentient, like consciously aware, right?
Sure.
So like newborns, for example, Peter Singer, by the way, is like a renowned debater, and he's very pro-abortion, and he's famously pro-infanticide because he thinks that newborns are not really that distinguishable from other unborn children because they don't have sentience, right? Like they don't have conscious
I'm aware.
awareness. They're just awake, like their eyes are open. So I guess I'm just trying to figure out like what exactly you mean by like consciousness when you say that.
It seems that humans have an experience where there is a subjective feeling about what it's like to be something. So I'm having some subjective conscious experience right now. The other humans I talk to have some subjective conscious experience. That awareness comes from the communication of different parts of our brain and the front part of our brain.
Okay, so and I'm assuming that you know that consciousness is like an ever-developing thing, especially in young children. Like they're still developing their consciousness, and throughout your early life, that is a continuous thing. Like it's not something that you would develop at once and you just have it. Like it's something that's consistently developing. I'm sure that you know that.
Sure, it might be. Yeah.
Yes, it is. So like you don't.
Yeah, some degree of self-awareness of passing like the red dot test or whatever, where you shine a laser beam on somebody's head or draw something and see if they recognize it in a mirror, etc. Like these are different aspects that develop as you age. Yeah.
Yeah, like newborns don't understand they're a different entity from their mother.
Okay.
So how would you say that newborns are really any different than, I guess, 19-week babies?
Well, because the
in
development of that
sense.
conscious process seems to start at around 20 to 24 weeks or 24 to 28 weeks when the parts of the brain necessary for that emergent conscious to appear begin to communicate with each other.
So you're just worried about when it starts.
Yep.
You're not worried about. So it's just really interesting to me because like there's not much of a like really tangible difference in between like a 19-week baby in utero and a like fresh out of the womb newborn in terms of their understanding of the world around them. There isn't.
I'm not going by understanding of the world around them. I'm going by
That's what
developing.
consciousness is.
No, I don't think so. I think there's plenty of people that are conscious with a very poor understanding of the world around them. But no, I would say it's like that subjective experience of knowing what it's like to be something. That I don't know how else you could put it into words. It's hard as a subjective conscious experience to describe what experience I'm having, but
Newborns have like no subjective conscious experience, even though they have that. They have those brainwaves and they have the parts of the brain that are starting to develop those things. Like compared to a 5-year-old, for example, their consciousness is horribly poorly developed. And like when you're comparing that to a 19-week baby in utero, there's actually not much of a difference in between their consciousness capacity.
okay. Well, people that look developmentally at embryos seem to disagree with you, so I don't know what you're going to say about that.
Well, I'm asking like what.
There are parts of the brain that begin communicating with each other that we believe are responsible for the emergent phenomenon of consciousness anywhere from 20 to 24 weeks. That seems to be where the research is right now. That's what I've seen. I've also seen 24 to 28 weeks, but since the risk here is murdering a baby if we're wrong, you should probably err on the side of caution. I'd say around 20 weeks is probably where the cutoff should be.
Well, yeah, and like again, I agree. Those things begin developing, give or take, at about that age. But even like right before, so like 19 weeks, we're drawing that line. It's not that much different from a newborn again, and I don't
Seems to be
understand.
pretty different. Yeah, I think so.
It's not like with the cognitive capacity of a newborn is not that indifferent to.
I'm not talking about the cognitive
itself a
capacity
couple
in
weeks
anything.
before.
Yeah.
Well, the capacity for conscious awareness.
There you go,
like, however
yep.
you want to phrase it.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
you
that's
don't
a
really
much
seem to have
different
like
thing,
a
right?
very firm grasp of your definition of this
I
consciousness.
think
anyway.
my grasp is
So-
decent, but like you're asking me to like define the conscious experience is like the hardest question of like all of fucking science, arguably of the universe.
Seems pretty easy to me. I mean, if you're willing to bet people's lives on it. Then it
Oh,
should be
really?
pretty
Then go ahead
fucking
and tell
easy.
me how would you define consciousness?
I already defined it for you.
Oh, do that again. I'm sorry. I must have missed
There's different
this
kinds of
groundbreaking.
consciousness. There's
Oh.
different kinds of consciousness. There's
Uh-huh.
a difference between someone being consciously awake
Mhm.
and someone having the capacity for conscious awareness.
True, but
So
what does it mean for somebody to be awake? Tell me, since you have this all figured out. I would love a better definition. Go
So
ahead.
somebody who's sleeping is not consciously awake. They're not like going through experiencing the world
True,
around
but
them.
when you say awake, what is it like to be awake? Please tell me this. I want you to solve this
So,
problem for me. Yes.
I'm just asking you.
No, I'm
why
asking you. You said you
think-
gave me a definition.
I'm
I want a
asking
definition.
you.
No, I'm asking you.
I'm asking you.
No,
I'm
I'm asking you. I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
I'm
No,
asking
I
you.
am asking you. What does it mean when
Steven.
you're conscious? Alia.
Ayala.
Okay, so what does it mean when you're conscious? Tell me what that feeling is. What does that mean? Like you're conscious right now.
I'm not asking you to define a feeling. I'm not interested in talking about feelings. That's not what we're here to do.
Well, technically, if we're talking about
objectively,
subjective conscious
scientifically-
experience, it's literally what it
objectively-
feels like to be something.
Objectively and scientifically,
Uh-huh.
there is not a significant difference between the conscious capacity of a 19-week baby in the womb
Mhm.
versus a, I don't know, premature even newborn baby. Like there's really not.
Oh.
They're not experiencing the world in a very different way. They don't know they're different from their mother. They act on instinct. They don't act on their feelings towards other people.
First of all,
Like,
I don't
they-
agree with you when you say that. They don't know what it means to be different from their mother. Can you explain more what
They
you mean when you
literally
say that?
don't. Like, so, and this is a very well-known thing amongst women who talk about pregnancy pretty often, like I do. Newborn babies freak out crazy bad when they're away from their mother, not just because they know that it's bad to be away from their mother, like instinctually because they need resources from her, but it's because they don't understand that they are a separate person from their mother.
Okay,
They have
that
done
is
studies on
that is not true. What are
Yes,
you
it
ta-
is. Yes, it is.
No, it's
Newborn
not.
babies don't know that they're a different part from their mother.
Okay, let
because
me
they used
ask.
to be
I'm sorry.
inside of her.
When you say newborn, what does that mean?
Newborn is a common designation for infants. It's a
No, but I'm
baby
because
that was
like you can hold a baby that's like 6 weeks old, 2 months old, away from the mom, and he's not gonna freak out.
Okay, so let's use a very simple definition of newborn, like a baby that was quite literally just born. Like a baby that
Okay,
was
sure.
just inside of their
Quite
mother
literally just born. I
doesn't
can buy that.
understand
Okay, sure. That might be the case. Sure. I don't know if
I
it's
mean,
true or
do you
not,
want
but
me
I
to
get
Google
granted.
this for you?
If
Do
you want
me
to.
to Google
But
this
also,
for
I don't think
you?
there's any bearing on the argument either. I don't know that that means that they're not conscious. They're
I'm
probably.
just trying to ask you, like, what are you talking about? Like, why do you think that a 19-week baby and a newborn
Mhm.
child are significantly different in their conscious capacity when a
Because there's
newborn literally
significant
isn't?
difference in the development of the brain parts that are required to deploy a conscious experience. The development difference between a 19-week-old child and a born baby is significantly different.
I thought we were just talking about a subjective conscious experience, whatever that means. Are we
Oh,
talking
I'm
about
sorry,
science?
I
Are we
didn't
talking
have-
about brainwaves? Or are we talking about
Well,
subjective
you know
conscious
what? When it comes to
experiences?
science, believe it or not, even the best scientists in the world have not solved the hard problem of consciousness yet. So I'm sorry that I can't give you the exact definition that you're looking for, but
Again, I think if you're betting people's lives on the definition of consciousness, like you should probably have a better answer than, I don't know, it has something to do with brain waves. It's a subjective experience. I can't define it for you.
don't we do that right now to figure out if people are dead or not?
No.
Okay, how do we decide when somebody's dead?
When someone's brain dead, but that's a completely different
Wait.
experience than deciding-
Brain
that's a
dead?
completely
Whoa,
different-
wait.
that's a
Why does the
completely
brain
different
death
thing than
matter?
deciding whether or not someone has become alive.
Sure.
There is
Well,
a
no,
difference
okay.
between coming
Sure.
alive and dying.
Sure, let's just focus on that part though. Why would brain death be the thing that matters to figure out if a person's dead or not? No, why did she leave? It glitched. She's coming back. She's coming back. Don't worry, I know she's coming back. Hold on. Hold up. Discord crashed for me. I think I have a trigger now around women saying my name. Steven. Like, I think it actually triggers the fuck out of me. I'm going to fight or flight. This is the second Crip you've talked to in as many days. 1 year as a predator, 1 year a lot of disgusting for one baby conceived in rape. 1 year later, proud to be sex. How is this a Crip? What part about this makes it a Crip? Hello? Oh, hello?
I don't know what happened.
Discord's been having a lot of issues today, don't worry.
Okay.
So I'm just curious, why do you think brain death is an important way to figure out if somebody's dead or not?
When somebody is brain dead, they're not going to regain consciousness.
Okay. Oh, but I'm saying...
Nobody has ever been brain dead and then...
Sure. So when you say they're not going to regain consciousness, is that then why they're dead?
So... knowing they're not going to regain consciousness means that their body will never again be able to support itself.
I don't like that. Why does it have a green name already?
But did Jacob leave?
Fighting about. Maybe.
Jacob was just posting. Is anyone streaming like live or something right now?
I don't think so.
Nope. No, TC Roberto's not in here. You're good.
All right. Well, I'm live, so I might just end my stream.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's